Really? No. There we go. Hey, so I think the live stream's back. What can I say? If anybody happens to catch it again, come on back. I'm not dropping any frames now. Everything is working. I cannot explain it. I don't know. But I'm back. Seem to be streaming just fine. Well, okay. So, I will give some people some time to pop in here. We pop the chat out. Yep, okay. Live stream health. We're good. We're not dropping packets. And now it's working. I'm going to hey, support for isn't that insane? Okay, folks. I see one person's watching. I don't know who that is, so who is that? And let's chat, because built up a small little audience and then totally lost it because internet fun. Test, test, test. Yep, audio seems good. Video looks good, I think. It's nice. Oh, I gotta do one more thing. And it's all about the ambiance. All about the ambiance. So let's just create some ambiance here. Yeah, there's some ambiance. And because I'm going to smoke a cigar, let's turn on the ventilation. There we go. And see if everything still is happy. Everything is still happy. I've got nobody watching. Well, okay. That is truly sad. There was someone who asked a question on the previous one. I was going to answer it in detail because it was about how to expose properly. And I cannot see the stream or the chat question, so I don't know what it was, but I believe it was about skin tones, and I'd really like to answer that for you as best I can, but come on back. Yeah, it's really solid, actually. I wonder if I could boost my... I don't want to do that. I was going to go to 1080 mode, but... let's see here. That's done. Anybody? Well, I know how to make an audience leave. Hey, somebody's back. Wow. I don't know how to pronounce your name, and I do apologize. It's going Mukayet, maybe? I don't. From Germany. Okay, that helps. If my niece were here, she'd school me properly on how to say your name. How's it going? What do you want to talk about? Happy to answer any questions I can, or chat about whatever you want to chat about. I was planning on talking about some motion control today and some products that I like. But you're here. What do you want to talk about? The show is yours. I can't believe it's working, and it's working perfectly now. That was truly weird. I've had the internet go out a lot, but I've never had it go out just like that. But yeah. Why don't you have more followers? It is a great question, and I don't have the answer for that. I'd love to have more followers. I think there should be. Thank you very much for Thank you for saying I'm very entertaining. Um, I I don't know. Probably not as fluent in getting my word out or my message out or what have you. Um, I figure eventually they will come. I don't. I mean, yeah, I'd love to have 1 million followers. It'd be the most awesome thing. But, I'm doing this for 750 followers right now. I was doing this for 60 followers just a year ago. I do this because I like to help and I like to, I don't want to say give back because you're not really giving back when you're doing this, but I like to talk and engage and talk about things that I like and things that other people like. And I feel like an interaction is the best thing that the world could need right now or really get. I don't know. You can tell all your friends to subscribe. It's kind of a sad little plug there, but I don't know. I figure eventually they're going to show up, and when they do, cool. Those of you who know me from the beginning know that this is me, and I'm not going to change me. If I get big, hey, sweet, thank you. Told them already. If I get big and huge and I actually start to see money from this, then all it's really going to do is give me more stuff to talk about because I don't. I'm going to travel and do that stuff. I'm going to do that already, but it's not going to be my reason for existing on YouTube. So, I want to say your name, but I'm afraid to. Mukite? Can you? I don't know if you can spell it so that I can say it. But do you have any questions? Any other questions other than why don't I have more followers? Happy to help you any way I can, or maybe you can help me. I don't know. I don't claim to know all the answers. In fact, I learn something every day. A friend of mine, Bill, he got it from somebody, but I get it from him, and he says, you can learn at least one thing from every single person in this world, and that's true. Mitch, okay, cool. Almost a Mick. Mick, how about that? I bet it's that. Mick, I'll try that. If not, slap me. So, Mick, what do you want to talk about? It's just you and me, buddy. What's on your mind? I got this nice stack of prop money. This is the most realistic prop money I've ever seen in my life. It's not fully printed, but man, it looks good. And on the front here, it says for motion picture use only. I love that. But man, it looks so good. I got this from a friend of mine. He won a briefcase full of it. It's awesome. I'm ready. He says, here it comes. I am ready for the question. And I'm going to learn because I didn't realize that the chat is not saved on the actual live stream. So I will repeat what people are saying. And that means I'm going to have to pronounce their names. So I got yours. I will repeat the question and then the answer, if I have an answer. Let's see here. Man, 0 frames dropped. I like that. I like that a lot. He's typing up his question. And let's see. Man, we had several people in here earlier. I wonder if they got it from Facebook or if they got it from just the announcement. Maybe YouTube won't announce twice. Yeah. Let's see here. I want to tell everybody I'm back. And I'm back. Yeah, there we go. All right. You're typing your question, and I am ready for it. In the interim, so the quasars back here, they're dimmable. Look at that. That is too cool. So I've got the two 4-footers back behind me and this 2-footer right up here, and we're going to brighten those up. And the question is here. If you would have to screenplay for your own film, let's say short film, or maybe even a feature film, where would you start? Would you try it yourself, or would you ask for help? Okay, I believe you're asking if you wanted to do a screenplay for your own film, would you do it yourself or ask somebody else to do it? If that's your question, I'm going to answer that. If not, correct me and I'll answer it again. So the way I would say that is, the only way you're ever going to learn how to do anything is to do it yourself. If someone else does it, you didn't learn anything, it was done. Now, that doesn't mean you'll be good at it. And that is something that, I like to do. I'm walking away, but I'm still talking. I like to do because, I need to know if I'm going to be good at something. And if I am, then I'll add it. If not, then I will at least understand it. And having that understanding will go a long way in working with other people. So, for instance, you try to write a screenplay, it's okay. You do it again, it gets better. You do it again, it gets better. Eventually you get it and you realize it's not for me, but you will understand what the actual screenwriter is having to do. Now, where do you start? Honestly, the internet is full of free scripts. There's several websites out there. I cannot remember them right offhand, but you can download PDF versions of scripts. I print them out, and then I read them. I read them all the way through, and I see how they do them. And then I go and I take the movie, and I watch the movie, and I see what they did versus what they edited. Because the script it's an evolving piece of information that is not always 100% followed, and the edit can completely change things around. So it's fun to see that. But pick up a script and see how they're doing it. See the little pieces that they're writing, what they actually mean. Because, script writing is super confusing. And, I don't always write a script for even the short films that I do. Sometimes I do if I'm bringing in other actors, especially actors who are more professional, and I'm doing something, then I will do that script. Excuse me one second. I will write a script. They're usually 5, 6, 7 pages long. They're not too terribly long, but I usually will pick up another script and sit there and read how they did a particular scene that is similar to mine, and then I read the words that they did, how they used it, the formatting that they use. I use a program called Fade In. I don't believe it's very expensive. I think it's $50. It's far better than Final Draft. It's far better than Celtex. You can use it on your iPad. You can use it on your iPhone. You can use it on your computer. All your computers, it'll sync. It does a really good job. And it also helps you a little bit with your when you're formatting. So, try it yourself. Even if you're writing it just in Notepad or a text editor or anything like that, then start to learn how to format it a little bit better, and then try to bring it into Fade In or in any of your screenwriting software. But if you'll get a script out there, and they're free, there's probably 300 or 400 of these out there at any given time, especially during Oscar season. They usually will release the scripts because they want all the information out there for people who are voting. And so usually around, I'd say, November, December timeframe, they will release all those scripts, and you can go just download them, put them on your computer, and read them. It's a great starting point. It's a great way to learn how it's done, and it's a great way for you to find out if it's something that you're going to be good at or not. If you're good at it, great. Then writing your own stuff is not unheard of. Writing, shooting, and directing your own stuff is not unheard of. The bigger the project, the more it's unheard of, because you can't do everything, and you can't do everything well. So, I mean, your idea, 3-minute, 5-minute short, there's no reason you can't write this, even yourself. The next step then comes into shot listing and figuring things out. And I learned from I think it was Michael Slovis, who was telling me that when you're shot listing, you don't need to shot list everything. If you are doing, looking at your watch, you don't need to draw a picture of looking at your watch. You can just write, he looks down at his watch. You get it. You know what shot that's going to be. So you don't have to shot list everything either. That's probably a little more information than you were looking for, but hey, this is how we learn. We got 4 people watching now. Sweet. People are coming back. I'll say earlier, Lane, G7 or SL2 for beginning filmmaker. So my opinion on that is I would probably lean towards the G7. Lloyd, excellent. Thank you for coming back. G7 or SL2. I'm not feeling like Canon right now has independent filmmakers in their heart anymore. And I'm sure that's going to change at some point, but I just feel like all of their cameras, I mean, even the ones they just came out with last week, are just okay. They'll both work. I mean, the very best camera is the one you have on you. So if you bought one, okay, it's cool. Don't worry about it. What is the best? I mean, how much money you got? Because, I mean, you can just spend a ton. If you have an iPhone, you can make a movie. I mean, it's been done and it can be done. They're quite powerful. So don't stress over which camera. It is the most asked question out there in the world. And, the answer is always, it depends. But get what you can afford, and find out if it has the most details or the most capabilities for the money. Hope that answers that. Lloyd, thank you for dropping back because your question disappeared off my chat, and I do want to answer it. Your question earlier was about exposing correctly. I hear this expression, but wanted to know exactly what is meant by this. Is it what the camera manufacturer is saying, 18% gray on IRE scale? I always try to get skin tones right, and it's different depending on the camera, and it's subjective. Yes. It is subjective, and it completely depends on the camera. It completely depends on the color science and the profile that you're using on your camera. So, for instance, if you're using a super saturated, like a DSLR type or a mirrorless camera, and you're using a vivid picture profile, that exposure level is going to be different than if you're on, say, the GH5 with log, or if you're on a red shooting at red log. It's going to vary. But what you're trying to do is, when they say 18% gray, they want 18% gray to land in the middle. So a card, I don't have one. I don't at all have one. I thought I had one here. 18% gray is a card. It costs a lot of money because it's a very specific color of gray. It's a very light gray, and it's considered 18% between white and black. What you do is you put that up in where the face of the person would be, and then you're going to get your exposure to where it falls in around the 50% of your waveform. So if you're looking at your waveform on your camera, or even in Premiere or anything like that, you want that gray card to appear right in the middle. And so the IRE, so 30 to 40, Shane says 50 to 60 IRE. Yep, it's subjective. And Canon, and obviously you went to the Hurl blog and read his Canon IRE. you need to put it in the middle. And it also depends on what you're trying to do with the rest of your picture. So if you're, did it pause? Did it? I can't tell. Is the video still moving? That's not going to be good. I'm going to continue that answer in just a minute. I just want to make sure that people are getting it. It's paused. Why is it paused? I can hear, but the video is paused. Okay, I am going to stop the video, and then I'm going to restart the video, and I hope it shouldn't kill the audio, but it didn't solve the video. Okay, I have to disconnect this plug. My audio is going to go out briefly. It will be back in about 20. So now, hopefully, I'm back. Let me know in there if you can see me. Okay, so skin tones. If you have a lot of dark in your background, but you're interested in seeing that dark, then you can't bring your face really, really dark, because then everything is going to be noisy. So bring up everything so that your skin tones, wherever you're measuring from, is going to rise to where you need it to be so that you can grade it later. So, and that's what Shane is talking about in his. He likes to underexpose it a little bit so he can push it later and get the entire scene with the latitude that he needs to push it. The reality is 18% gray is fairly similar in contrast or in value brightness as Caucasian, just like super white me. Obviously, the darker the skin, Latino, that kind of skin color is going to be a little darker. You might have to expose it a little bit brighter, but that might blow out your background. So you might light differently. That's why they talk about like lighting for African Americans is challenging, but it's my chair's breaking again. It's challenging, but it's also super fun because they have such an amazing color skin that it. There with the chair. The skin takes on kind of a chrome look if you add too much light to it. So it is oddly enough, not oddly, but I mean it's one of the most beautiful skins to expose. It's such an amazing, because it's darker. It tends to blend in with the darker background, but you want to bring that subject out. So you add a lot of light. You end up getting all these wonderful reflections off of the skin. It's cool. So what it really means is you want your skin tone to be in the middle of your waveform, pretty much. Sorry, I got a cough. And I have to go get my Apple box. You know, I fixed my chair last week, and then it obviously broke. I think I'm moving too much. I'm an animated guy, but I'm back. At least I'm not frozen. All right, back to the Apple box. All right, so let's go through Lane. Thank you. Is leaning that way? Okay. Mick, it really depends. I sold my GH5 after 9 months and put my BMCZ back to work. Yeah, I mean, both of those cameras are really good cameras, actually. I had a hard time with this GH5 for many months trying to get it to expose properly. And suddenly it just clicked. And it's a little challenging. And I like shooting in log. I'm not shooting in log right now. I'm actually shooting in natural. I do that because in order to get this into the live stream, you have to capture it on screen. So it comes out of there looking, it's actually pretty bland coming out of there. But when it shows up on the screen over here and it's capturing from that and then streaming it out, it's very colorful and bright. So it's kind of a play. But I like to grade afterwards, and it took me a long time on the GH5 to get that one exposed. But the Blackmagic, I own the Ursa Mini 4.6 and loved it. It does some amazing stuff. Let's see here. Video frozen. Yep, we fixed that. Now gone. Now you're good. All good. Everything's back. All good. I use false color with a monitor LUT. Works great. Yep, false color works really, really good. The best way is if you can set your false color. A lot of times you can't, and you're at the mercy of what the vendor of your camera or your tool has defined false color, or your monitor. But typically they're trying to get that false color green to be in the middle, which is 18% gray, which is where skin tone should be. So it kind of works out. I mean, it's a ballpark. The good thing is that cameras are so capable now, you can push them one way or the other. Lloyd, thank you. I'm glad I answered your question. Let's see. Lane, thank you for subscribing, Lane. I see you popped up. Appreciate that. Always appreciate subscribers. Always appreciate you people in the community, because this is kind of what I wanted to build is interaction, talking. You know, it's kind of what we need in the world. Just a little more talking, a little more like-minded people, and like-minded is just the specific topic of cameras and stuff. Just anything to make people smile and have a good time. The world needs more of that. All right, who's got some more questions? We got 5 people out here, so happy to answer. I do want to talk about at some point some of the motion control stuff. A lot of people have never tried motion control, and it is quite amazing, and I really want to kind of show people how easy it is. And so we'll talk about that in a little bit. Mick, what kind of lights do you use usually? Here comes the answer. It depends. No, it really does depend on what the mood is using. So I actually have a variety of lights. And I just splashed myself in the eye. That's awesome. So I am using right now, this whole scene is lit with right now 5 of these lights, and these are Quasar T8 LED bulbs. I will plug it in and show you. Yeah, right. So they are, this is a daylight color. They make them in tungsten color as well. These are just 110 power. Just plug them in. They are dimmable. Those in the back you can watch and see they can be brought up. I do have a filter on this camera right here. I'm doing that because, I don't know, it seems kind of fun. So that's where this like wide color, the wide luminance is spreading out. That's a black pro mist on there. So I've got 2 4-footers right here. And again, these lights, these 4-foot LEDs, dimmable, they're $75 a piece. That is virtually nothing in the world of lighting. These 2-footers are, I think, 40. So I've got, I mean, after playing around with them last week, I ended up buying more. I now have 6 of these 4-footers and 4 of the 2-footers. If you watched my video that I posted last night on The Vlogs Are Dead, that is lit with 2 2-footers pointing directly at me. Very similar to this one right here. This is just hanging down from a C-stand, pointing directly at me. I just wanted to do it just to kind of provide a little bit of side lighting. I've got 2 pointing this way, and then there is another one back behind the chair just kind of beaming up at the wall. That's it. That's the whole lighting, was just that. Now, these don't work for everything because they are a very long tube light. Kind of provides a soft light, very even light on what it casts, but that's not for everything. This back behind me, this tree-looking light right here, that is an ellipsoidal light. A lot of people call them LECOs. It is basically a focusable light. So what they have is a light source. That's a tungsten. That is a 750 watt tungsten. And then it has a focusable, not a Fresnel, it's an actual spot. It's a focusable light. And then you can stick a gobo, and a gobo is just a cut piece of metal that has a pattern in it. You slip it in front of it, you focus through it, and then you get that nice pattern. Other lights that I use, I do have this one right here. I have been converting a lot to LED because I like them. This guy right here is exceptionally bright. I don't know if it's plugged in or not. Oh, it's not turned on. But it's really, really, really bright. Let me just turn that on. And then we're going to have blindness. Let's just turn that way. So, hello, look at that. That's not bright at all. So, yeah, you can get an idea. This one is equivalent to a little over, I don't know, it's probably about a 1.5K tungsten. Maybe between a 1 and a 1.5K tungsten. They say it's as bright as, that's 10% right there. They say it's as bright as a 1.2K HMI. I say no, it's not. I do have a 1.2K HMI, and I mean, it's a Fresnel, so it's a little bit different of a light, but it's not quite as bright as that. I also do have, grab one of them right here, and there's no shame at all in having these, and not one bit. These are Ari tungstens. They are Fresnels, and you know what? They work. They work every time, every single time. They are super cheap. This one, I think I paid about 170 bucks on eBay. They might even be cheaper now just because everybody's moving towards LED. I mean, the only negative is they're hot, but they work. Up here, I have some Kino flows. I'm not using those much anymore because these quasars doing the job. I also have some flex mats from Westcott. They're pretty good. They're kind of a 1x1 LED flexible panel. I don't use them as much. They're more specialty now. So, variety of lights. Let's see. Okay, let's say an interview. You can do an interview with one light. You can do an interview with no light. If you had a, let's say you're in an office, turn off the lights. Let's say you have almost no budget whatsoever. You have one light, one tungsten Fresnel. The way I would do it is I would put the person up against a window, kind of to the side, just a little bit. Maybe, I mean, not directly next to them. I would put a white reflective bounce, styrofoam pop-out bounce, it doesn't matter, on this side. And the sun or the daylight would come through, hit them on the face, be brighter here, darker here. I'd probably put the camera kind of this direction. I like to do the darker side of the face towards camera. I just, it's a trend right now. I kind of like it. And then that 1 point or whatever Fresnel you have in the back, you could either hit that on the background, kind of like that, or hit it towards the back of the person and give a little bit of a hair light. The reason is you're doing a couple of things. Number one, you're separating your subject from the background with light. Number two, you're creating a little bit of color contrast. Color contrast is another great way of differentiation. So you have the daylight balanced window. Hopefully it's just indeed and not like green or anything. But you have daylight coming in through the window, and you have tungsten in the back, which will be more yellow. Take your camera, set it to daylight so that your person's face is looking really nice and properly color balanced. And then the back will go to a more golden. So it's more of a nice contrast. But you could do that. I mean, honestly, you can do, if you only had 3 Fresnels, you can do it. You can buy those dimmers, these little impact dimmers right here. They're like $45. And they work. Put those on tungsten. They're good for, I think, 1,000 watts. So you can put them on a 1K, no problem at all. You can control the light. Take one of these Fresnels, bounce it into a reflector right over here, and bounce that reflector off into their face. If there's no sun, now you've got a nice soft, large light that comes through. You can do what they call an ARRI light. An ARRI light is a softbox that goes in front of a Fresnel. Let me grab one real quick. It's right over here. I apologize. This is, yep, okay. So the one thing here, so this is a softbox designed for an ARRI light, and it is got a grid on it, and you can take that off, but it's a big softbox. The one thing with softboxes is you want to be absolutely sure if you're putting them on tungsten that they're rated for the wattage or the heat. And a lot of times they have these flaps, and you need to open these flaps up because the heat needs to get out or you are in deep trouble. It will leak some light when you do that, but I mean, you can get the job done with tungsten. I know numerous people who still light with tungsten. It's a beautiful light. In fact, the CRI index that everybody talks about, oh, it's got a 95 CRI rating. Well, guess what? You know what has 100% CRI? It's not the sun. It's tungsten. They based it on tungsten. So it's a beautiful light. So light with what you got. And you know what? Try everything you can with what you have. Some people take the approach of just lighting with one light and seeing what they can get. Let's see, J.J. Abrams, Bill says, very J.J. Abrams Star Trek lens flare look. Yeah, it's blown out. Let's see here. Whoa, I don't know what Bill's saying whoa for. Mick says, oh, nice one. I only have the 120D, 300 is out of stock everywhere. You're right, it is. It was out of stock because they had to fix that green fringe that was happening on the outside, but they have fixed it. So they're just building up stock now and sending them out. I think there's a few that do have them. I don't know about Germany. The 120D is a great light. I have the 120T, and I don't know where it is, but I've used that one a lot. It's a great light. It's very bright. The only thing I don't like about the 300D versus the 120D, they're different colors. I mean, I don't understand. They're 6,000 degrees Kelvin on the 120D and they're 5,500 on the 300D. You can tell the difference between 500 Kelvin. Excuse me. So I don't know why they did that, but they did. So you've got to gel it just a little bit. All right, so I've caught up with the questions. So what does anybody want to talk about? We got more question time. We got 6 people watching, and I appreciate every single one of you. If no one has any questions, I will talk about motion control if that is something that is interesting to anybody. Or I will talk about other products. I have a few over here that I wanted to bring up. So back behind me, can't quite see because I won't move into the right direction. That's my new Moog back here that I just got. And it's so pretty right now. Before I just start pounding all over it and making wonderful synthesizer music with it, I wanted to video it because, I mean, it's cool looking. And I've been playing with these lights and getting some amazing results. What I've been doing is using the light, record the camera going past the Moog, and then I take the light and I wand it over it. And what happens is you get this beam of light. Well, it's not really a beam, but it's a reflective beam that kind of wands across. So it's been a lot of fun to play with lights. I love doing that. Let's see here. Lane says, where are you based out of? I am based out of Austin, Texas. I'm actually just outside of Austin, thus the internet failure. But Austin is really close. Lloyd, got the second shooter on the Cineslider and looking at adding parallax. So go for it. Okay, so parallax. So you have the second shooter on the Cineslider. I'm assuming that means that you have just the side-to-side, the slider motor only. Right here is the pan and tilt head for it, and it's questionable whether or not you want to add the parallax versus the pan and tilt. There are pros and cons of each. Let me go through that, and then I'll dive into these. So the pro of a parallax is it's done. It's mechanical. You set it up one time. You don't have to program anything. All you're doing is you're programming your move side to side, and your look will be perfect. The con with the parallax is it's almost, well, no, it is, no, it's almost the same price as a pan and tilt head when you add it for the Cineslider. I believe it's like $600 for the parallax. The parallax is also bigger, so your Cineslider is now going to be wider. Well, not wide, more deep. But again, it's not going to fail, and their products don't really fail. It's not to say that, but it's a foolproof, constant. It doesn't matter if you have power or not. You're going to get that parallax, that effect. For those that don't know what parallax is, you know, you can't really see it behind me, but this is the Cineslider right here, and this is the red on the Cineslider. What a parallax does, and I will try to emulate it, is it is a device that hooks onto the back of the Cineslider, and it controls. You can basically manually program it by moving a bar on either side. And what your goal is the camera is pointed here at the middle. When it goes by, you want it to continue to look at the middle. And what that does is it allows the middle to stay in focus, and the back, well, not focus, but the focus of the camera. And then the background will actually move a little bit as it goes. And it creates this kind of movement that is not you cannot replicate it with just a slide. So what a parallax does is you move the bar, and as it travels, it moves the camera as it goes. And it is a mechanical device. So you don't need a motion control at all. You can just use your hand, and it will turn as it goes. I don't have one for my Cineslider. I have been going back and forth. I did have one on my pocket dolly, and I did love it. I really liked it, but when I moved up to the Cineslider, I sold the pocket dolly, and I have not been 100% on getting the parallax, but I don't know. I go back and forth on it. So on the pan and tilt here, second shooter. So those that don't know what this is the Kessler crane. Don't do that. I have too much stuff on here. This is the Kessler crane second shooter pan and tilt head system. And this is the second shooter plus. The second shooter plus is basically a small little remote control. It has Wi-Fi, which is super cool, which means I can connect up to it with my iPad, use their software, and I can get 30 keyframes out of it. Where this little controller here will do 3 keyframes, but super easy to do. So let's stop this. We're going to do a new move. So what I can program with the second shooter plus is I can control the pan and the tilt of this. If I have a slider on this and I have this mounted to the slider, put a motor on the slider, and I can control the back and forth on that as well. You can then take these and you can, really? Oh, magnetic. You can tie them together. So if you have multiples and you don't have to have 2 second shooter pluses, you can actually use the original second shooter, which is cheaper, and you can link them. That then gives you 6 axis you can control. Now you can do pan, tilt, slide, focus, zoom, and let's mix it up. Let's put a slider on top of the slider in a different direction. Now you've got an XY. You can do that. 6 keyframes. So let's just program a 2 keyframe right here. And this is great for short little time lapse. So this is funny. 1 second. Time lapse in Washington, D.C. can be very tricky because you are not allowed to put a tripod down. Same thing in New York. You put a tripod down and the cops come and they want to write you a ticket. This is the quick plate from Kessler, and it's part of their quick release system, but it has 4 feet on it. I put this on the bottom. You can now set that on the ground, or on a ledge or anything. It is not a tripod, and it can't be considered a tripod. It has 4 feet. It has not got legs on it at all. So it skirts the whole can't use a tripod. So now you can do a full motion control move in like DC and New York and places that you can't. So that's what's kind of cool about this little guy. But you know, you get your camera set up on it and point it how you typically want it. And then we're just going to do 2 keyframes. And what I want to do is I want to point over here, and then I want to point over here. And you know what? Let's do 3 keyframes. Let's start. I want to point up here, then I want to point down here, and then I want to point up here. So that's something you can do here. So the first keyframe we're going to go over. So we have buttons here for left and right slider, left and right pan, up and down tilt. So we're just going to pan it over, and we want to go up, I said. So, okay, we got that skyscraper right there. So you got it where you want it. You hit enter. Okay, now it says go to your second keyframe. So now we're going to pan over. Excuse me. And we're going to tilt down. And then we're going to set that keyframe. Now it says go to your third. So we're going to pan over. And we're going to tilt up, and we're going to capture that building right there. These are imaginary buildings, people. Imaginary buildings. And we say done. Okay, then it asks, where does that second keyframe fall in the mix? Is it even all the way through, or do you want to go here quickly, or quickly here and then slowly here? You tell it based upon the percentage of the timeline where you want it to be. We'll just say in the middle, which is 50%. We'll say okay. Next, we're going to do, I'm just going to do loop scrub so you can see it in motion, but there's a mode called time lapse. Time lapse, you plug in this little remote controller plug right here, which you can plug into here. This will trigger your camera. So what it will do is it will move, trigger your camera, so it takes a picture, and then it'll move to the next one, trigger, move to the next one, trigger, 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 and it does all of that for you. So it becomes very handy and very quick to do something like a time lapse. Or you can do it for video, which is what loop scrub will be, or you can run it once, or you can do stop motion. Stop motion is when you want to manually trigger when it takes it. So next we have the loop scrub settings, which I wish I could just show you what it says on the screen, but I'm just reading it off. There's not a whole lot on there. It says the time. How long until it gets from point A to point C. And right now it's set to 30 seconds. That's fine. And then ramp. And ramp is how much does it just start moving, or does it slowly accelerate into the move? And so you can program that as much as you want. What I've found is ramping is more beautiful. It's more cinematic. It also will stop jerkiness. So if you just start with like no ramping, that first few frames is going to jerk as your camera kind of moves because it just jolted into full speed. Kind of like starting your car. If you get in a Tesla and you put it in ludicrous mode, you're going to get jolted as you get up to 60 miles an hour in no time at all. So if you have a normal person driving a normal car, then you would slowly accelerate, and that's what it's doing with ramping. So we'll just use the 50% ramp, and then we'll run. So it's going to go over to point A, the first keyframe, and then it's going to go. There it goes. So it's now moving, it's ramping. You can see it's slowly moving down. This would be like a video. It's now going almost to point 2 or keyframe 2. And now it's headed back up. And then it's going to do this in a loop scrub. It's going to go backwards, forwards, and backwards. So it's just going to sit here and do this. Now, you can take this unit and put it on a slider or a dolly, and have it go back and forth while it's doing it. So that gives you a parallax as you're going. So if I had a long dolly and I wanted this move, I'd start pointing this way. I'd put my dolly over on this side. And as it's going, I move the dolly backwards and then goes this way. What that'll do is create that kind of movement of parallax. Parallax works really, really well. In fact, it's almost imperceptible otherwise if you have something in the foreground. So you have grass, mailboxes, brick, or brick stairs, and then buildings. So if you're doing that and you're sliding, then you will see that parallax. And the parallax is a three-dimensional movement inside the camera. Mick just followed me on Instagram. Looking forward to your next live stream. Have a nice day. Thank you, Mick. I appreciate you hanging out through the bad part of my live stream and the good part. But thank you for joining from Germany. All right, what other questions? This is the second shooter, and I am very loosely affiliated with Kessler. I mean, full disclosure, they are friends of mine. I love these people. They're an amazing company. I am not paid by Kessler in any way. I speak my heart and my mind from my products, and I love their products. From time to time, I have borrowed stuff from them. I have been loaned stuff by them. So full disclosure, yeah, they're good friends, and I appreciate them, but I am not paid by them. So I really, honestly, and if you go back and look at any of my reviews on them, I'm 100% honest. But you know, cool things like the shuttle dolly. If you saw my review, I had one of the first ones, not the first. I'm not that cool. I'm like second level cool, maybe third level cool. But I had one of the first production runs of the shuttle dolly, and I had an idea, and I said, you know, what if we could move these trucks? It would be a lot smaller. You know, several weeks later, they reached out and said, hey, guess what? We liked your idea. We moved them. And they did. It was amazing. And so now all the new dollies have those movable trucks. And, you know, that was, I'm probably not the only one who made that suggestion, so I'm not taking credit for it. But they listen to their customers. And that's why I love Kessler Crane so much. And Eric Kessler, the owner, and Chris Beller, who's like the second in command there. He's an amazing guy. Michael Sutton over there, he is in charge now of all their marketing. He does also a lot of brain work and R&D. But I mean, they have a huge team over there, and they just make really cool stuff. And I can't wait to see what's coming out next. So let's see here. Lane says, I'll be back. I'm going to check out your other videos since I'm not ready for sliders. Oh, come on, Lane. You're ready for sliders. And you know what? You can do sliders on the most amazingly cheap way. You can put your camera on a box and slide a box along a desk, and you'll have a slider. You don't have to have, you know, the best brand out there to get a sliding shot. It's not necessarily about, it's not the gear, it's the intent, the purpose, and the move that you're trying to do. I mean, watching Better Call Saul, and they're putting people in wheelchairs and using that as the dolly, you know? It works. It's kind of like, my grandfather always used to say that anything you can think of has been tried before, but that doesn't mean that it can't be done again or done better. I think something like that. Thanks to Cineslider and Keen for the pan and tilt. Yeah, Lloyd, it's worth it. I would strongly recommend you look at them. This is the normal speed pan and tilt. I also have the high speed pan, and it's really fast. I bought the, I bought the high speed because I have the turntable option, and I have a nice piece of Corian countertop that Kessler sells. But it rotates and it makes product shots look really nice. I'm going to indulge in my cigar now, so if you will allow me my indulgence on my live stream. Keep the questions coming. Happy to talk about more stuff. I've got some more Kessler gear. I love I love talking about Kessler. I haven't talked about them in a while. I don't want people to think that, you know, I'm just like a shill for Kessler. I'm not. I'm not even a fanboy. I just love. Well, okay, that makes me a fanboy, doesn't it? Honestly, I like products that work. That's why I use the products I do. I use a lot of Kessler stuff. I don't own everything at Kessler. Some of it's hard to justify for me. But I use quite a bit of their products. Aperture, I've been really loving their lights. They don't know I exist. I keep sitting on my wire back here. Red, I love Red cameras. That doesn't make me a fanboy. I like what works. That's what we're out here for. So what kind of questions you guys got? Oh, that's a good cigar. Yeah, I like these. Glad I stayed a little longer. Live stream like a boss with the cigar. Thanks, Mick. I like cigars, and as I said on my my video that I posted last night, be yourself. Don't do anything except be yourself. Have fun. Incorporate stuff from other people in your videos. It's no big deal. You know, they say that good artists borrow, great artists steal. It's true, but you don't steal the identity. You steal parts. And you know, I used to smoke cigars on a lot of my vlogs and videos and reviews, and people would just like slam me in the comments. Oh, how dare you smoke a cigar? I'm an adult. I do what I want to do. You know, that's me. So I put them back in because I'm taking my own advice and I'm being myself. And, you know, I enjoy cigars. If you don't like cigars, don't smoke cigars. If you are a cigarette smoker, I strongly suggest you try cigars. They're awesome. And it's also about 2 hours of my life that, you know, I get to slow down and kind of enjoy. Positive benefit? Check out the ambiance I'm creating in here. I'm going to have light beams everywhere. It's going to be great. I mean, who needs a hazer when you got a cigar? I think that's where it originally came from. They probably just all smoked up in the studio. Live streaming still looking good. Yeah, I don't know what failed earlier. I think the internet just pooped. Because it was sad. I mean, I put up a 30-minute timer. I was rebroadcasting at 2 megabits instead of 1.5 megabits. I mean, I worked a little bit trying to build a more professional live stream. I hope you appreciate or enjoy the changes that I make. And then, like 2 minutes into it, just died, fell right off. So who's all out there still? I got 4 people watching. Please ask questions. I can talk all day long about stuff. I'll show you another piece of Kessler gear that I like. Mostly because I just used it and I haven't put it up yet, so it gives me a good excuse to talk about it. But this is their Pocket Jib Traveler. And what this is a very small, very compact jib. So you mount it on a tripod. It folds up into a tiny, tiny little package. And it used to be right there, and now it's moved. But now you can get amazing dolly. Yeah, I don't want to take out the red in the back. But you can now get some really nice dolly shots. And you can do it relatively inexpensively because the Pocket Jib Traveler is like $699, I think. I mean, that is cheap for a jib. And look how small this folds down to. See, I'm just using it. This whole live stream is just an excuse to clean my studio. Oh, figuring it out. All right, let's see here. This comes off the back. Don't want to spill anything. So then unscrew this right here. This folds over. and slams into my iPhone, and it goes right like that. So then that comes off the bottom, and I mean basically this whole thing is take the tripod head off, but it's only this big now. And you have to come off the tripod head, but I mean tiny, 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 tiny. And I don't know where the package went. It's over there somewhere. All right, let's see. Anybody got questions? Got 5 people out here. 5 people live streaming. Go talk about anything. I don't care. Random topic. Talk about these quasars. As soon as I figure out what happened to the extension cord. Yep. So these little quasars, they use almost no wattage whatsoever. These little 2-footers are 15 watts of power. And you can hold them in your hand. There's absolutely no fear of heat or anything with them. They're just incredibly, incredibly low power. I'm just plugging this in so that I can wave the wand around magically. So, I mean, you can produces a nice little beam of light. I mean, put it out of the extension cord, obviously is a problem, but put it out of frame. I mean, you can light up. It does a really nice job, and it's very even light. I mean, because it's not really soft because it's a narrow, but see, like I'm talking about that beam of light. I mean, you can play with product shots, and the light goes across as you are filming it, and you can get some really nice shots. Plus, doesn't that look cool? I can spell. Yep. So, I mean, this is the 2-footer, and I have a 4-footer back here. And I answered my own question with these the other day. I was concerned because they have the little pins on either side, and I thought, uh-oh, is it possible? Can you like take the cap off the other end and electrocute yourself? Nope, only one side's hot. So there's the 4-footer. Look at that. Bring it close and connect it. And again, it looks like it does because I have that filter on there. But I mean, you can pass these and do all kinds of lighting effects in the background. That is what I'm going to be doing for a music video coming up in Tampa. I'll give you a hint. Let's say I had a few of these lights, and let's say I had a motion control device that I could like move stuff around. Oh, weird. What if the light were motion controlled in the background and moving around, and you had several lights that were maybe moving around? Maybe it's an idea, but I mean, that's the stuff you can do. And you can do it inexpensively with these quasars. Put that back there. Close enough. All right, who's got questions? I'm just chatting up a storm here, and I want to answer some questions. Who's all out there? Say hello on the chats so I can say hello back. Let's see here. What else is there to talk about? Talking about lighting. This is a cardboard box. Everybody knows that. Inside, hey, look at that. It's from B&H. Almost like I buy a ton of stuff from B&H. That's so weird. Hey, Bill says hello. Hey, Bill. How's it going? How's your Sunday treating you, sir? I'm going to open this because, really, using my trusty red tool, because I want to show you what's in this box, because it is also a great lighting. Really? How in the world do they? There we go. Progress. Oh, this is a live unboxing, isn't it? Yay, my first live unboxing. This is a black flag. Not to be confused with the Roach Destroyer black flag. This is a black flag. What it can do for you is remove light. So, yeah, that's the best way to show it. Put it down. My face is relatively evenly lit, but if I bring this up right to the side of my face, I can't see it, but this side of my face should be darker. Now it should be lighter. Now it should be darker. Obviously, the more closer it is, the darker it's going to be, and you wouldn't want it in frame, but you can still take away light. And that's what lighting is. Cinematography is about shaping light. It's not just adding light. A lot of times you're taking away light. And you can do a lot with various sizes of those. When I do my turntable, I usually will have a giant softbox light pointed at the turntable and a small light in the back hitting down on it just for the contrast in the back. And then the rest of it, I build a tent of these black flags to take away all the rest of the light. That way the focus is where the camera is. How long are those lights, LEDs? Okay, so this one is a 2-footer, and then that other one was a 4-footer. They do make a 6-foot and an 8-foot as well. They go up in power. So this is a 15 watt, and then the 4-footer is 30 watts, and then obviously the 8-footer would be 60 watts. They come in, these might actually come in 3 color temperatures, but this one is the daylight, it's 5,500 degrees Kelvin, and then they also make it in tungsten at 3,000, I think, or 3,200 Kelvin. And then they also make, I think, a 2,000 degree Kelvin, which is very, very orange. Bill's writing some tracks. Cool. It didn't really take much light away from your face. All right. Fine. This is a bigger one. You know why? It's because these are long. Okay. Is that taking away light? Before? After? That's hard to do. Before? After? Yeah, this light is able to get in, and that that is going to have an effect on it. Subtlety is also important as well. Sometimes you don't want to remove all the light. You want to remove some. If I had a hard light or just one light coming at me from this side and I put that up on the other side, it will absolutely darken my face without question. Obviously, if I put it on this side, it would completely darken my face because it would block the light. Really? I talk too much. It's a curse. So what else is going on there? In the blues, what's going on? How are you doing today? I don't think I've ever talked to you or seen you before, so how are you? Where are you from? I got a few people out there live streaming, or not live, watching the live stream. Bill, you're out there in the blues. I think you're still out there. Who else is out there? Say hello. Chime in. Don't be afraid. I don't bite. Let's see here. What else can we talk about? You know, I've been making extension cords. They're called stingers in the industry. You have to build a stinger a very specific way in the industry, or else everyone hates you. So I've been building them, and I didn't buy the right plug, so everyone hates me. But they're still cheaper than buying the ones from the supply houses. But then again, my labor is worth money as well, so maybe it's not cheaper. So this may be something that will be interesting to people, or maybe not. Tony from Sydney, Australia. Hello, sir. In the blues. Good. Thanks, mate. I'm from Australia. I'm a fellow YouTube guitar stuff. Like to learn from guys like yourself regarding good tips and tricks. Well, welcome, sir, from Australia. I've got quite a few friends from Australia. Tony's from Australia. Apparently, we're on that side of the globe today. That's cool. YouTuber guitar stuff. Well, Bill is a guitarist. There's that. So this is a standard chord for a stinger in the industry, and it's SJOOW chord 12-3, which means it's 12 gauge, it's got 3 wires, and it's got a rating, SJOO3. It's also a very rubberized, very, very strong wire. These are the wrong plugs. If you show up on set with these plugs, you'll be laughed off the face of the earth. So I won't bring these into public, but I will use them for myself until I can replace the plugs. The real plugs, the ones you're supposed to use, are $10 a piece for each side. So yeah, I cheaped out. These are rated. They're not the snag resistant. And they come in 25, 50 foot, and 100 foot, although 100 foot you shouldn't run 12 gauge, you should run 10 gauge. Melbourne, oh cool. I've got lots of friends from Australia. I'm looking forward to seeing them at NAB coming up. It's about the only time I get to see them. So in the blues, tips and tricks. What kind of tips and tricks you want to learn? What is a problem that you've been having that you want to solve? Let me see if I can help you get through that. And Tony, anything I can want to chat about? You got any questions, or you got anything you can teach? I can learn from other people as well. I've got no problem with that. It looks like we're successfully live streaming still. That's so much better than before. 1 hour and 14 minutes. Man, it just flies. What do y'all want to talk about? There are more people joining. Come on in. Say hello. Chat your name in the chat down there, and tell me where you're from. Love to hear from everybody. And if you have any questions or anything, hey, Jason H is back. I know him. He's from England. Jason, how's the quest of video going? I only saw one video from you, and that was chasing a dog or having a dog chase, I think. I think it was your first video of the vlog. I waited and everything sucked. I missed out. I do save these, Jason, so you can watch it back. I have learned that the chat is not there, so I've been repeating the questions that people ask. So that'll help hopefully answer the questions, and you'll know the question that I answer. So don't feel bad. I don't yank away the live stream afterwards. I like those lights. Are they okay to put up against a wall laying flat on the floor to light a wall? Yeah, they are. But do understand, how can I demonstrate it? I'll demonstrate it flat. Where did my cord go? On the back of here. Take that off. They're absolutely no heat whatsoever. So there's no concern of that. I mean, you could be concerned with it being stepped on. That's always a concern. But all right, what you're going to see, and I can demonstrate it this way. If this is a wall here, and turn it, and you put it up against it, you see how it's going to light at a gradient. So it's going to be super hot spot right here, and then it's going to light the wall less and less as you go up. The best way to counteract that would be to raise it or get it away from the wall. The more you do that, the more that gradient is going to even out. It's still going to be there, but it won't have a super hot spot. Or you could also tilt it. If I tilt it away, then yeah, I'm not applying as much light to it, but I'm also taking away a little bit of the hot spot. If you watched the video I posted last night, there is one of these little 2-footers back behind my chair. And it's about, the chair is about 3 feet away from the wall. This is probably 18 inches away from the wall. And it's pointed almost upwards directly, not pointing towards the wall or pointing towards the back of my head. It's pointing upwards because it created the least amount of hot spot on the wall, gave a nice little kiss of light along the back wall, and then also it did a little bit of hair light for me, or just a little bit of differentiation between me and the background. So these lights, super cool. Quasar Science is the company. I have no affiliation. But if you're Quasar and you want to send me one of those new RGB lights, I will happily review it. I won't say no. I'm not silly. Great investments. Cool lights, really cool lights. They also have these in battery powered. They even have them 7 inches. They'll run, I think, 20 hours. Pretty cool. A short one, battery operated, would be awesome in a car. Put it like right in the dashboard, pointed directly at you. Get a nice light that way. Let's see here. Tony says, I'm just getting into the vid side of things. I've started a channel, but I'm not super happy with the direction. I want to do more interviews with working artists. Cool. I mean, that is a cool thing to do. We were talking about it earlier, and I talked about it on my video last night. Be yourself. Don't try to be somebody else. Be yourself. And what you're doing, there are a few people that are doing that, but it's not a saturated world. So, I mean, if that's what you want to do and that's what you like, do that. Because people need to see artists out there. They need to understand what goes through artists' mind. I love talking to artists. Anybody. I mean, you can always get somebody. Bill says that you can learn at least one thing from every single person in the world, and I'm believing that more and more, and I like that. So, not super happy with the direction. Want to do more interviews. So, any questions about the interviews, or are you just dabbling, thinking about it, or have you done any yet? Or tell me about what you're working on. And the Blues says, thanks a lot, mate. Appreciate your time and answer. I'll check out the video. Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you for stopping by and hang out for as long as you want. But I appreciate all my friends anywhere in the world. It's always fun. I like these Sunday afternoons because I tend to get people all over the world. It's kind of wild. The filming is a work in motion. Jason H says, not ready to just put out, so I made a few vids for the sake of practicing, but still not satisfied enough with my caliber of work to let anyone see any of it. See, now you're being a creative, and that is our biggest problems as creatives. We're never happy. We never like our work. It's never good enough, and so we live in fear. I 100% understand. I have the same problem. I have so many shorts and so many videos that have never seen the light of day. I just don't feel like they're right. The best advice I can give you is the advice that I am trying myself, which is shoot it, edit it, put it out there, move along. Learn something from it the next time, because doing that helps. That is also something these live streams are helping me with. The interaction with people, the accepting of criticism if and when it comes up, the accepting of totally lost for words. Just being able to accept someone who likes your work and says, amazing work. That's hard for me as a creative because I hate it. I think it's horrible. I would never want to show anybody, but then somebody comes along and says they like it. So go ahead, put it out there. Don't worry about it. You have never set the bar so high that you can't ever do anything else, because we're not Steven Spielberg's out there. And even Steven Spielberg, he's put out some bombs of movies. I mean, just horrible movies. Theoretically, I mean, some people like them, but I mean, he's put out some that have been really bad. You know what he does? He moves along. He goes to the next video or the next film project, and he does it over and over again. He shoots it, he edits it, he puts it out there, and he moves along. And if it gets great accolades, he loves it. If it doesn't, he learns from it. And he's just being himself. As always, wise words, Scott. Thank you. That's one of those compliments that are hard to deal with. But as creatives, you need to hear that every once in a while. It just helps, and even the criticisms help. They hurt, but they help. Quality grows over time too. Says in the blues, my first videos over 11 years ago were terrible. Now they're less terrible. You know what? It's the truth. My channel is actually 11 years old, and I removed, total creative here, I removed all the videos from about 3 years ago and before because they were horrible. And I didn't want people to go, oh my God. But you know what? The honest truth of that is, I see these successful YouTubers or successful filmmakers, and then they go out there and they post their first ever film that they ever shot. And yes, agreeable, it's horrible. But look where they came from and look where they are. Anybody can do it if they try. So there is a contrast between start and where they are today. And secondly, they had the courage to put that old stuff out there. That speaks a lot about the filmmaker as well. I don't have that courage yet. I'm working on it. After 2,000, in the blues says, after 2,000 videos, if it doesn't get any better, try something else. That's true. So in the blues, what that really says is whoever did that, well, I mean, I know you're hypothetical here, but if you put out 2,000 videos, but you never learned anything from your previous video, then you're not playing to win for yourself. And win is not, hey, I got 1.5 million subscribers. Winning is you feel better and better and better about your work. That's winning. Winning is your personal satisfaction, your happiness inside. That's why I say that's things at the end of all my videos. Meaning, I don't believe that your passions should play second fiddle to your life. Put your passions out there first. And your life is going to happen. It's going to happen around those passions. But when you're focused on your passions, things that really move you and invigorate you and get you energized and excited, that's going to make you happy, which means your life is going to be happy. Yeah. Let's see here. Let's see. Tony says, I come from a radio background where interviews were my bread and butter. Well, dude, you're already halfway there. Now you just got to put visuals to it. I definitely have a head for radio. So do I. Thinking of getting a Boya BY-WM8 mic, but not sure if I should get what I can afford or go for what is considered the best. That probably sounds confusing. So here's my, I actually do not know the Boya BY. Let me see what that is. And, you know, I'm the first to admit I got no, if I don't know something, I'll look it up. But I'll be able to know a little bit about it just by looking it up here. Boya BY WM8. BY dash, really? Okay, I don't want to access the, well, that was weird. You changed my keyboard. What are you doing? BY, wow. Apparently my iPad has updated itself. Lovely. Wireless. Gotcha. Okay. Okay, so let me just see here what this is on Amazon as far as pricing. $249. It's cheap. So what I will say from that is it is not on par with price as the more quality gear out there. Because of that, what I will tell you is this, and it's something that I have learned the hard way many times over. If you're in a pinch and you need something, then you buy what you can afford. But keep in mind, the best is the best for a reason. And I'm not advocating saving your hard-earned money and buying a $3,000 wireless rig. What I'm saying is get the best you can afford, but buy something of good enough quality that you're not having to rebuy it in a year. And that quality line seems to be around the like the Rode VidLink, I think it is. That's like $400. I use the Sennheiser. This is the 112, or the 100 series. I use these. These are not the best, but they're of good enough quality that you don't need to upgrade these in the near future. I've had these for like 4 years. I actually had the original set of 100s that I had like 12 years ago. No, 15 years ago. So the problem with the cheaper stuff is they typically are noisier. They don't sound as good. They have a hiss. The range is bad. They're less configurable. But if it's all you can afford and you need a wireless, then, you know, I'd be on the fence of that. Whether you should or shouldn't. I mean, you got to do what you need, but I would definitely not ever consider buying the cheapest Chinese stuff out there because, I mean, I have boxes. I mean, I literally threw away boxes of Chinese filmmaking gear that, I mean, it was like a Chinese matte box and a Chinese rig, and, you know, they're valuable to somebody, and I would have happily given them away, but there's no one out here to give them to. And I mean, anybody on here that would have wanted them, it would have cost more to ship than you could have bought it for on Amazon. So, I mean, it's kind of throwing your money away when you buy some of this stuff. So keep that in mind. In the blues, you're at 2,300 videos? Seriously? I'm going to have to check you out. The VidLink is awesome. Use it daily, man. It's super reliable. Like, I love Rode. I have a ton of their gear. I use the Rode video mics on my mirrorless cameras when I'm vlogging. I have the NTG2. I have the NTG1. No, I have the NTG2. I have the NT1, which is their studio microphone. I have their blimp. I have their arm, their telescopic. What the heck is it called? The arm for the microphones. I have that. What else do I have of Rode? I love Rode. Rode has been amazing. I've used their microphones for 20 plus years. My NT1 is 20 years old, is when it first came out. Bill, I think you might have been there when I bought that. I know Bill has sung on it. Let's see here. Jason H says that is so true. Tony says, thank you so much. Truly appreciate it. Hey, man, anytime. And feel free to ask a ton of other questions because this is good engagement. I enjoy this. Let's see. What else? Who else has got some questions out there? What do you think of Techstar? I have never heard of Techstar, so let's find out. Press home to unlock. This is getting annoying. Techstar. What is this? Okay, it's got model numbers. Techstar interview microphone. Okay, so Jason, this would be exactly what I'd be talking about when it comes to Chinese microphone. That is a Chinese copy of a Rode. I can't tell you how good it is. I can tell you for $27, it's not going to be very good, or it's not going to be very good for very long. My honest opinion would be to get the Rode Video Mic Micro. Let me grab it. It's right here. Sorry for coughing. Those of you who've been on the live streams a couple times know I just cough all the time. Thank you. I can't get rid of it. And no, it's not the cigars. So I talked about them last week. This is the Video Micro. It's a tiny little mic. It's $59. It's a Rode product. It sounds great. I think we talked a little bit about it last week. If it was between this and a no-name Chinese microphone, I'm going to choose this every time because this is what I'm talking about. Save the money and buy this one, or you can buy that one and then turn around and save your money and buy this one because you're going to end up buying this one at some point. It's just the way that it works. And this is the Video Mic Pro. This one is $300, but it's of a vastly superior quality even of the Video Micro. So it is tough out there. I mean, really, really tough to buy gear, and it gets expensive, and I understand, and I have done it myself. What mic am I using for the live stream? I am using the Sennheiser 100 series wireless, and the lapel is right under my brim of my hat. I think you can see it. Yeah, right there. And I put it there because A, it's super easy. It's not here. My beard doesn't go, which is super annoying. And then I just run the wire down the back of my shirt, and then I just put the wireless in my pocket. I like the Sennheiser mics. I would love to try the Rode VidLink. If Rode wants to send me one, Rode, hello. Hey, how's it going? It's Scott. Remember me 20 years ago? Yeah, if you want to send me one to review, I'll review it. There's a lot of reviews out there. People love them. So I would say that it's pretty solid. How much are they? So the Sennheiser kits for the receiver and the transmitter, I believe they're about $620 for the set. It's a little bit of money. The thing about theirs is they have a system, so you can use, I have email. You can use the transmitter, like the belt pack that I have, or they make a little transmitter that goes onto like a broadcast microphone when you're just like, you know, hi, I'm live reporting here, blah, blah. They have one that plugs underneath the bottom of that. It can use the same receiver. So it's a system that they have. And I mean, there's benefit to that. That is not their high-end microphones. Their high-end microphones are about $1,500. They're high-end wireless. I mean, what really shows up on set a lot is Electrosonic, and those are $1,300 a piece. Transmitter $1,300, receiver $1,300. There's a ton out there, but there's a reason, because they always work. They're very configurable. They're low noise. They are standard out there, so it's a win-win for them. Oh, yeah. Hey, Jason H., catch up on the live stream back at the beginning. I showed the system. This is the Kessler Second Shooter Plus with the pan and tilt. It's for, you can do it for time lapse, you can do it for video, you can do it for stop motion. You can do it for a lot of different things. It will literally take a picture, move a little bit, take a picture, move a little bit, take a picture. If you want to do time lapse, you can run this over 12 hours. If you go back and look at under my films section on my videos, I think the playlist, there's a couple there from, I think, Big Bend, I think it's called, and it has like the beautiful sunset. That was all shot with the Kessler Crane Second Shooter and the Second Shooter Plus, and it was on the Pocket Dolly, which was before the Cineslider that I had. But it allows for, like, I mean, I would set it up at about, I don't know, 6 o'clock at night. The sun was starting to go down, and I would have it run all night long following the stars. So I would try to track the Milky Way as it would go overhead. And I'd wake up about 6 o'clock in the morning and go and grab my cards out of my camera. And to do that is actually not that hard. There's a couple of cool apps, the Sky Guides that are out there. I think one of them is called Sky Guide. The other one, I forget what it's called. But you pull it up, and it'll show you what's in the sky while you're moving around on your iPad or your phone or what have you. The cool thing is you can advance in time. So you can look at, say, 6 o'clock when you're setting up your shot. You can say, okay, the Milky Way is right there. And the sun comes up at 6 o'clock in the morning. So that's 12 hours. Where will the Milky Way be in 12 hours? So you advance your time on your Sky Guide, and it will move all the stuff in the sky. So the Milky Way bands, it'll move it to where it'll be in 12 hours. So then you can hold it up and say, right there. Now you can program your camera on this Second Shooter Plus, point here at 6 o'clock, and at 6 o'clock in the morning, I want you to be right there. And then you just tell it how many shots you want to take. So you're going to be looking with the night sky, you're going to be shooting probably in the 10 to 20 second exposure, a wide open, really fast lens. And then you're going to give it probably 5 seconds to move, even though it moves in like a quarter of a second, but you want to give it just enough time for the settling of the, you're taking a long exposure, you don't want anything to shake. So if it jolts or the wind blows or anything while it's moving, you want it to settle down before it takes the next shot. So then it works out, say, okay, I want 1,000 shots. So it'll say, okay, you can do 20-second interval or 20-second shot with a 30-second interval, which means it's going to take a 20-second shot every 30 seconds. And it'll tell you you'll get 900 shots in that time. And now you'll have this perfect tracked Milky Way in your video. And if you look at my Big Ben video, you will see several examples of that where I was tracking the Milky Way. The other cool thing is to look at it from the reverse. You know you want a Milky Way shot. You know you want that Milky Way shot to only last, say, 2 seconds in your video. You just want it across the screen. So at that point, you do the reverse. 2 seconds of video at 24 frames a second is 48 frames, which means you're only going to get 48 shots. So if you want to get from here to here in 48 shots, then it's going to move considerably throughout the time. So you could tell it, I want to take a shot, and your interval probably would be, let's see, 48 divided by 12 hours. I mean, so it's every 15 minutes it's going to take a shot. But it'll do that math for you, and you say, I want 48 shots, and it will change that interval for you. So it's cool. Sounds brilliant. I haven't done any time lapses yet, embarrassingly. Keep on putting it off. Dude, do a time lapse. They're so much fun. And, I mean, the G7, super easy to do. Do one. Who cares? Do one. The best way to think about time lapse. So when we shoot video, what we say is we want it to be at 180-degree frame shutter speed, which is basically double the frame rate. So if we're shooting at 24 frames a second or 25 there in Europe, we would want the shutter speed to be about 1/48th on 24, 1/50th on PAL. What that does is it emulates the way our eyes look with motion blur. So when I move this really fast, it's actually blurred. You can see it there. I'm pretty sure it blurs there on there. That blurring is at a natural way that our eyes see it. So if you have a very high shutter speed, you get this kind of staccato. So prime example of staccato is take your fingers like this in front of a TV screen and do that, and you'll see your fingers perfectly in there because you're strobing against your television. You're not getting motion blur at that point. So when you're doing time lapse, let's say you're going to take a picture every 1 second. You're on like a busy street and you want to take a picture every second. You want your shutter speed to be a half a second long. Now comes the fun part. To get a half a second during the day with with time lapse, you're going to need to really put some sunglasses on your camera, and that's where ND filters come in. And in that case, honestly, the Jason thing I can tell you, because you just want to play with it, is get one of the Amazon Basics variable NDs. I think they're going to cost you probably 70, 80 bucks, maybe a little more. I don't know what it'd be pounds sterling, but what it is a way to adjust the darkness of the sunglasses that you put on the front of your camera. So what you can now do is get your exposure to look right by darkening it down, and you get that half a second. Now your time lapse will look cool when you play it back at normal speed. As people walk by, they'll be blurred nicely, and it'll look cool. But by all means, try time lapsing. It's fun. Tony says, I just purchased G7 yesterday. Is the reason you have one on your desk mean that they are okay for YouTube, or is it a paperweight for you? It is absolutely a great camera. Great camera. It is, and I have repeated this to many, many people, the best bargain on the planet right now for a good beginning camera, especially for YouTube. It shoots 4K. And at times, right now, I don't think it is. At times, it is $499 with the little lens on Amazon. They go on sale periodically and quite often, actually. Normally, they're $799, but you get for $500 a 4K camera. And it's a pretty respectable image. It is not going to win every award out there for image quality, but it does a pretty darn good job. Jason H bought one. It's too light for paperwork. Yeah, it is. It's a lot of plastic. It is a very affordable camera, and it's built affordably. But Jason H bought one, and he became like an instant shutterbug, taking pictures of everything. It takes great photos. It takes great videos. My buddy Bill, who I'm not sure if he's still on here, he's probably in the background. In about 15, 20 seconds, he might chime in. He has one. He bought one because he likes to vlog periodically, and he does some beautiful stuff with it. The feature set that it doesn't have a lot of features in 4K, so you can shoot 24 frames a second or 30. That's it. There's no slow motion in 4K, but you can shoot 60 frames a second in 1080. But if you're just starting vlogging, then 1080 is great. 1080, which is HD, it looks great. There's no reason why you can't shoot with 1080, and then you can get 60 frames a second, so you can throw in some slow motion every now and then. So No, it's not a paperweight. It is actually my time lapser. as, as I explained to Jason. So I shoot when I am running around and vlog types, lightweight stuff. I shoot with a GH5, which is that camera right there. And this G7 goes with me as my my B cam, and it is my time lapse camera. So I will set up it to go and grab time lapses all the time in the background of the city or wherever I'm at, and then I incorporate those into my vlogs. And if you watch any of my vlogs and you see some time lapses, chances are it's the G7. When I really want things to go really well, I shoot with my Red. And yeah, it's a killer camera. It is what I use for my nature stuff and anything important to me or anything high end, because it shoots 6K and it'll shoot 6K at 100 frames a second. So it kind of goes back to the original question of, you know, is it the best camera? It depends. The best camera is the one that's in your hands. So no, it is not a paperweight at all. Right now it's a prop at the moment because I needed a camera to sit there and demonstrate the motion of the second shooter pan and tilt. In the Blues says, thanks for the hangout, Scott. Got to keep up the great work. Got to go. Hey, thank you for stopping by in the Blues. I really appreciate you coming back, and I try to do this every Sunday. Seems to be a good time to do it, so I'm doing that. Will, hey Scott. Hey Will. Sorry. Where are you from, Will? Did we talk? It is a very sexy camera. I literally love holding it. You know what? It's so compact and small. It feels cool. It feels really, really good. It's got the flip out screen. It's a great camera. I did a good review. In fact, it's one of my most popular videos, oddly, is the G7. I don't know why. I would have thought the GH5 review would have been more popular, but the G7 is just a great camera, and you're falling in love with your G7. Well, yeah, okay. Okay, so Panasonic G7s are now $597. So they're still at $600. I would still say that is the best bargain right now. At $800, you start to introduce a couple of other cameras that you could compare in there. But at $600, yeah, it's still a bargain. Still a bargain. Jason, have you given your camera a name? I don't name my cameras. Well, actually, I did. I named the Red Skippy. I don't know why. I haven't named any of these other cameras, but that one got a name, probably because it costs as much as a car. What else is going on out there? People, I love having conversations. We've been at this 1 hour and 48 minutes, not including the really, really bad disconnected Shaniqua. He's just joking. You know what? It's a good name. You name what it's special to you. It's a good camera. I like it a lot. You know, if it had the one feature that this GH5 has, and that is the ability to plug in that audio module on top. I tried it. It doesn't work. Then this camera would be killer out there because you could just grow with it like crazy. I tuned in a couple streams in the past. Okay. Got a question about audio for beginners. I'm looking around the $75 range. Is the Zoom H1 by far the best? I like Zoom recorders. Is the H1 that brand new one that they just came out with, that just got announced at CES? Trying to recall. You can buy the H4N is here, let me grab it. The H4N is the standard, and now they've replaced it with the H4 something or other, and they are amazing audio recorders. I think the H1 is that one. Yeah. If I remember correctly, the H1N does not you can't put an external mic into it. And if that is something that you need, then you should consider H1 right there. Then you should consider something else, because I think it is just an XY stereo recorder. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you cannot plug in an external mic with that. It is cheap. I probably will buy one at some point, just because it is super, super compact. The H4n, you should not discount this, because you can buy these on Amazon for probably the same amount of money. I'm sorry, not Amazon, eBay. They don't fail. They just work. The negative about the H4n is that it eats batteries, and it has some limitations. The microphone preamps are not the most awesome in the world, but they're pretty good. I mean, I like them. I've used this a lot. This thing is old around here. I bought the H6 a while back as well, because it has the interchangeable modules up top, and you can record 4 audio inputs at the same time. Plus, it's got better level controls, whereas this one, you actually have to menu to it and then zoom up, and then you can increase your volume. But this is a 4-channel recorder, so it'll do an XY and two channels here. But you probably can find this on eBay for about the same price as the H1, and I would probably lean that way if I were you. Yeah, there is no XLR. Just wondering if you've had any experience with it. I have not bought it, but I probably will, because location audio, just getting sound from where you are is always important. I've got some nature videos out there that I put on Amazon back when you could, where just sit there and it's like 9 hours of like a babbling brook going by, and I take this out there and I set it up and I record for a long period of time, because this nice stereo sound, you get that nice ambiance out there, and you put that in, mix it in, and you get some great audio for your videos. So when it came out, I saw it at CES. I put it on my wish list of things that I'll buy at some point, just because it'll be a perfect tiny little thing to capture location audio. But for like talking like this, I would not do it. It sounds hilarious in my mind. But if it's all you got, you know what? Then you use it. I won't say anything negative really about Zoom. That it's a pretty good brand. I mean, I have lots of Zoom recorders. I have the H4n, the H6, and then I have the F8, which is the 8-channel actual mixer recorder all in one, and it is fantastic. I mean, it's amazing. And then they have the F4, which is the 4-channel version of it. It's also fantastic and half the price. It's awesome. The H1n, Jason, is this, but remember you were asking, I believe, about the little pocket recorders, like the old cassette style or the little Sony dictaphone type things. It's about that size. And I think I talked about it last week that, for a stereo doing that, it would be great. And it's tiny. It's really, really small. Yeah, so Will, question for you, is XLR important to you, or are you just looking for stereo? If you're just looking for stereo, then yeah, that'd be a good deal on it. But if you ever want XLR, I'd try to find a used one. So why not get one of them instead of a Rode mic? Different purpose. So Rode does make stereo mics that go on top of your camera that feed the audio into your camera. So your camera's recording the audio. This is separate audio. So you do these when you want to be able to have a little more control over your audio, or if you're looking for an individual recorder. So you might take this somewhere that you don't take your camera. So they have different purposes. The Rode Stereo Mic Stereo Vid Mic Pro, I think it is, which is $800. It goes on top. It is an XY on top, and it is using Rode quality microphones, which are very good. But you're feeding that audio into your camera, and you're using your camera to record that. So why would you choose that over this? Well, if you want stereo microphone and you want it every time you have your camera, then this sitting on top of your camera is less convenient than the Video Mic Pro. Stereo Video Mic Pro, or whatever it's called. The little H1N sitting on top, it might be okay. Do understand you've got to sync that audio then with your video, which is why you see people go, that is to slate the audio. So you can then find the clap in the audio, the SD card of this, and then you can sync up that audio to your video. So the Rode feeding into your camera, you would never need to slate. Just something there. Let's see here. Will, does that answer your question? I mean, the choice is always yours. I've given you my opinion, and my opinion is mine alone and worth every price of admission. Let's see. Alistair Robbie. Alistair's from Australia. He flies all over as a filmmaker and a beer guy. What other questions anybody got out there? The live stream's doing well. It is dropping a couple of frames, but not horrible. I can hang with that. Rode video mic is not as good as a Rode shotgun mic. Question. Yep. Why not get close range shotgun mic? Okay, so shotgun mic is a unidirectional mic, and it is as a shotgun, it is a very, very the pattern is a super cardioid pattern, and what that means is that it focuses the longer the shotgun. Typically, there are some companies that will just put a longer tube and say it has to be engineered that way, but you're able to pick up audio within this range. If I turn like this, you no longer pick up that audio near as well. If I turn like this, you're not going to hear it at all. So the longer the shotgun, the more narrow it is. Then the shorter the shotgun, the wider it is. So that Video Micro, that little tiny $60 one that goes on top, it's a very, very short microphone. So it is picking up about, it's not 180 degrees, but let's just call it 90 degrees of a pickup pattern. It can pick up a little bit more along the sides than a shotgun mic, but I mean, it's the intended purpose. So if I'm trying to pick you up out of a crowd of a lot of people talking, I'm going to want to use a shotgun mic and point straight at you. If I'm wanting to pick up the crowd talking, then I might want to use a wide pickup, a omnidirectional mic, or that's where a stereo mic will come in. It's going to pick up a true representation of what your ear, well, not a close, very close representation of what the room sounds like to a human standing right there. The actual real representation is done by binaural. Binaural microphones, and I have a set, this is super cool, is you put them on your ear and the microphones are in your ears pointing outward, which means that it picks up the audio in the room exactly the way your ears do. Now, the first time I had heard these, and you listen to them with headphones because it's surreal, really. The first time I ever heard it, I thought, this is kind of cool. I wanted to try it. So I bought a pair, and I'd set it up. I was just sitting in my chair, and I was playing with a tin can, and I just kind of set it down, and I recorded that and kind of moved a few things here and there. And then I played it back, and I'm listening to myself or listening to the things around the room, and I'm thinking, okay, this doesn't sound that real. Something just, it doesn't feel real. And then the moment I set the can down, I heard it exactly where the can was set down, and my brain, I looked over because I thought somebody had just set the can down where I set it down. It was truly amazing. At that point, I was totally sold on binaural audio. But binaural audio only has a purpose for more of a sensory, more of a being in a specific place. So you wouldn't want to do it if you weren't purposefully trying to create a sense that you were there. Whiskey. No, it's not whiskey today. No whiskey. And quit putting that E on there. We don't put the E on there. What else is going on? We're at 2 hours now. Jason, did that answer the shotgun versus stereo? A stereo is I mean, it's stereo, and shotgun is mono. Now, the truth is, when I speak, I'm speaking from one source right here, and so I am actually mono as it comes out. The stereo is picking me up in the room. So when we are doing audio for films, we use very directional microphones, and we pick up the individual people, and then we go in and we pan them to where they are in the room and build our own sound field of where it's at. So hopefully that helps. What makes a good director? Delta Cubes asks. Honestly, a good director is someone who A, can create and maintain the visual and the overall image of a story as it's written, and convey it to all of the people necessary to make that vision come true. That includes talking to actors, talking to the director of photography, talking to the various people that are working directly for the director to help his vision or her vision get to the people to make it. Delta, I hope that answers that question. If not, hit me up again and I'll elaborate. Jason H says, still don't get the point of a video mic pro instead of a shotgun mic or a stereo mic. Okay, so the video mic pro is a microphone that has everything built into it to capture and process the audio to feed it into your camera. A shotgun mic is just a microphone, and that microphone needs something like this to take that signal and be able to process it. Then this has the other side, which is the recorder side. So in here's the preamp. The preamp, you want to put things on here like limiters and compressors, anything to keep, like when you go put in front of a microphone, you get a really loud pop that happens because you're air. A limiter will prevent that. So you can assign limiters on the preamp section of microphones. And you can not do that on a Video Mic Pro. You would have to do that inside your camera if your camera has the capability. These, you can do that. On top of that, a shotgun mic. Let me grab a shotgun mic because I'll be able to explain better. Look over here. Where is my audio gear? Here's a blimp. That's not a shotgun mic. There's a CSR2. Is it in here? I don't think it's in here. Y'all can hear me. I'm over here. I'm looking for the microphone. It is not in there because it's probably in this bag over here. If you could just see the studio, there's all kinds of moving conveyor belts. I have to jump on one and then jump over these mushrooms and then get to this one just so I can find the right product. Really, I'm just trying to look at a giant mess to try to find out where I put it. And where is it is a great, great question. My wife was helping me clean up and I don't know where it went. Hopefully the audio is still working as I go into a completely separate room, looking for this bag right here. Ha 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 ha. There we go. And he comes back. In here, there's a dead cat, Nope. There we go. This is the, yep, okay. So nothing in there. I'm getting as many as I can. All right, so in here is only one microphone. All right, fair enough. This is the story of a girl. Sorry, song. This is a dead cat. Goes in a microphone. This is a Sanken CSR2 shotgun microphone. This is a high rear rejection microphone. The way this works is it is exceptionally directional this direction and in a very, very, very small direction. And it has some rejection technology built into it so that it cannot hear behind itself. So if I'm pointed this way at the camera and I'm behind it, you're not going to hear much of me at all. You're just going to hear barely. And I'm talking really loud and you can hear it, and then it's just like that. This is a shotgun mic. It is a mono microphone. It is good for pointing at that camera, but not pointing that way. If I point it that way, I won't pick up what's at the camera. This is a very expensive microphone. This one I think goes for about $1,500 just for this microphone. Full disclosure, my wife wanted it in AB 3 years ago. So I love that because I can't afford the $1,500 microphone, although I should be able to, but I can't. That's what a shotgun is for. Delta Cubes, I watched your Panasonic G7 review a while ago, and would you recommend it for cinematic shots, especially at nighttime life? Okay, so here's what I'd say about that. So cinematic shots is all about the person controlling it. So you can make some amazing cinematic shots by controlling the camera. Putting it in manual mode and controlling the shutter speed and the aperture so that you have a narrow depth of field, that will help get you more cinematic. Then the motion or the non-motion of your shot, the framing of it will help you achieve cinematic. All of that stuff is camera independent, which means that any camera that can do manual, then you can be okay. The iPhone with Filmic Pro can do fully manual on the iPhone. There are movies that have been shot with an iPhone, and they're very cinematic. You can do that with it. Where your question is going to go off in a different direction is the nighttime life. So I'm going to give you an explanation, but I would like for you to be a little more specific about what you mean by nighttime life, because it will help the answer. Where I feel like a weakness of the G7 is its low light capability. It is noisy at low light. So you need to give it a lot of light for it to be a very clean picture. That being said, there are things you can do to help that. So, excuse me, you shoot, if you want to output at HD 1080, then you shoot this camera at 4K. You can then go into your editor and conform the 4K down to HD. Doing that means you get 4 pixels for every 1 pixel of output. Now you can add a denoiser. You can add a denoiser to anything, but a denoiser can only work with what it has. So there's an old saying, garbage in, garbage out. With 4K going to 2K, you have 4 times the amount of data for that denoiser to work with, which means if 3 of those pixels are clean and 1 of them is wrong, it will remove the one that's wrong, and you end up with 1 clean pixel on your HD output. So you can denoise 4K on the G7 and make a fairly nice looking low light HD output. And that is not just, I mean, any camera can do that. So it's something you can do, but that is some way to get the G7 to make it look prettier. When Tony says, when you clean up, that ends the ability to find a darn thing. Oh, you know what? You're right. My thing is I have nearly a photographic memory as long as I've seen it, or if I've moved it, or if anything. I can tell you exactly where anything is, anywhere in any building, any of my, I have multiple buildings here, but any of my buildings here, any place, I can remember it. Unless someone picks it up and moves it someplace else, then I can't tell you. But I can tell you where the ratchet is, the 3/8 ratchet that we used a week and a half ago is. It'll be in a cardboard box sitting next to the door in the shop out there, underneath the parts that we pulled off. I remember that stuff. When my wife moves my bag, I don't know where it is. Fortunately, my wife, she's a good sport. She kind of has an idea where I keep things. And so I knew where the bag would be. I just didn't know she got it to where it was supposed to go to. That's my biggest beef. My biggest pet peeve is horizontal surfaces. I love them. I love them to be clean, and they're never clean, although I've been working on getting that one clean back there. Cleaning up in this house and pretty much every other house in the world involves picking up something off of a horizontal surface and placing it on another horizontal surface. That's all we ever do, is we take stuff and move it around. And I want it to be in a location, in a compact area, stuck someplace else so that it's free and clear in here. That's one of the reasons I've been rearranging in here, and I've been doing a lot of work with that to gain more room for the sets that I'm building in here. Delta Cubes says, okay. Got it. So did that answer, Delta Cubes, your nightlife question? Is that the kind? Because, I mean, there comes a point where, I mean, you're really going to have to get to a low light camera if you're really wanting to pick stuff up in its natural light, like the Sony a7S2 or even the new GH5S. They're much better in lower light, but you can do a lot with a G7. Let's see. Any other questions out there? Anybody else got some questions? I love answering them. We've been at it for 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I'll probably end it here shortly. I don't want to just live stream all weekend long. Although that's a good chance to have some nice cigars. Anybody out there got any more questions? I would love to answer. Or if you just have anything to chat about. I mean, we might be able to chat for another hour if the topic is good, you know. Tony, Delta, Jason, Bill, Will. I think that's the 5 that are out there. It's slowing down. Slowing down. All right, we're going to put 5 minutes, and then we're going to end the live stream. And don't jump out early. I would like to say towards the end here, it'll be funny because if anybody actually goes back and watches the live stream and watches it all the way to the end, that's when they'll see this. But please, if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. I would greatly appreciate building this community. This is the kind of stuff I like to do, as well as do my short films and my short vlogs and my how-tos and all that stuff. And I like to do all of that. And if you subscribe and you tell your friends to subscribe, and anybody who's interested in filmmaking at all or anything in general of what I'm doing, I would greatly appreciate if you would share it, because I really want to build this thing up. Delta, I will get to your question. And then also, I do have a Patreon. I have it out there mostly because I feel like it would be cool to generate a little bit of revenue from this to put back into this. I'm not looking to make my living off of YouTube. I make my living doing other things, filmmaking. And I would, just, if anybody feels like doing anything on Patreon, great. If they don't, I completely get it. No pressure, just I'm putting it out there for anybody. Delta Cubes asks, how'd you get into filmmaking and photography? So, excuse me. Sorry. Photography. So my father was a photographer, well, a shutterbug basically, back when I was, wee lad. And he had an old camera that he he upgraded, and so he gave me his old camera to see what I could do with it, because I kind of had an interest in it. And I mean, I just started taking pictures of anything I could take pictures of, and I loved it. It was the coolest thing ever. And then he was telling me about how to develop pictures. This is back in the days before digital. Then they bought a VHS camcorder, and this was like 1981, 1982, I guess. There's a lot of cool movies out there. I saw Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which was one of my favorite movies of all time. I just love the way that movie looks. I love the story, everything about it. And then I got to use the VHS camcorder when I unofficially borrowed it while they weren't home, and started making little shorts that I could not edit. So I had to make them in linear fashion, which is really hard to do. But always, just films have always just captured my heart and my mind, and I love trying to recreate and build what's in my brain visually and share it. So I've been doing it off and on ever since I was a wee lad. I actually worked in the television industry. I worked for Disney, ABC for several years. I've had a kind of a in and out of this, and I'm now at the point where I'm crossing over into full-time doing this as my day job. I'm not fully there. I'm about 80% there, and that's what got me in it. Jason H says, making a music vid of my pics as we speak. Okay, cool. Can't you read my comments? I can read your comments. Can't you read my comments? I don't know what that means. I thought I was, but if not, cool. Yeah, Jason, you might be getting plagued by YouTube won't let you comment more than like X number of times per minute or something. So it may not be letting your comment in. So if you don't see it on the chat, then it didn't happen. Any other questions before we close this out? It's right at the 5 minutes. All right, I got to go. Thanks for that, Delta Cubes. Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate it. Again, tell everybody to subscribe to my channel. This video will be up later, so you'll be able to watch it again if you so desire to watch 2 hours and 18 minutes and 12 seconds. And as always, I like to leave it with my saying, and my saying, it really does come from the heart, and how creative people can really be happy, and that is, don't let your passions center around your life. Let your life center around your passions. All right, goodbye. Till next week.